What up? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Moedotj and we are locked in. This is part 2 of We Own the City on HBO Max. Part 1, we started to see and get to know who all the characters were. The big thing that we also seen was that Officer Jenkins ended up getting arrested by the feds, the FBI. Now we know that they're local Baltimore PD, but when the feds come in, yeah, we got a big problem on our hand. But before we jump in this and see what happened to Jenkins, shout out to the notification gang. If you're new to the channel and you want to be a part of it, hit the subscribe button, turn on your notification bell so you get something every time I upload. Hit that like button, it's the easiest thing you can do. Also, we seen that Hawk, he went and he found a tracking device. In that tracking device, there was someone else's tracking device up under there. That's because they were robbing the dope boys. So there's a lot of corruption going on here. In part 2, it's just going to open it up more for us. So let's jump into it. This is We Own the City, part 2. We start the episode off with Jenkins being escorted to the interrogation room from his jail cell. Now you can hear him talking. Do y'all know who y'all got? Y'all got the wrong person. My kids got a game this weekend. If I miss it, ooh, I'm going to sue somebody. Basically, he's trying to downplay it to make it seem like he's good. Normally, you see this from people that are bad. You know what I'm saying? They did something wrong, so they want to try to act like they're good and they're going to get away with whatever. Nah, it ain't happening, Jenkins. We got you. Baltimore Police Department run sheet, log of activities, field training. Now, this is back in 2003, back when Jenkins first got onto the police force. This is when Jenkins first got on. Now, he gets a field training officer who's going to be the one that he rides with, and he's going to teach him the ropes. Now, when they come in, you know, the top dog, he comes in and lets them know exactly what's going on. And you hear him say, hey, if you aren't using them shiny wrist cuffs, handcuffs, out there in the streets today, you're going to have to come and answer to me. Basically meaning, I don't care what's going on in the streets, everybody better arrest somebody today. Now, you hear Jenkins' training officer tell him, everything you learned in the academy, throw it out, because out here the rules are different. This is Baltimore. This isn't field training. This is the streets. Now, while he's out here, Jenkins starts to notice that they're arresting people for little bitty misdemeanors. Loitering in a drug-free zone, they're arresting them. Now, his training officer is telling them, look, we're trying to get the murder rate in Baltimore up under 200 so the mayor will look good. And Jenkins is saying, well, if we arrest them, they're not going to go in jail. He's saying as long as we keep them off the streets and just keep that cycle going, then we can worry about less murders out here. So all this is the mayor just sweeping things up under the rug to try to look good. Mr. Jamel. Now, you remember Jamel, him and Momodu were the ones that went and robbed Anderson Black. They're also cops, just a little bit dirty. Now, in the hallway, you heard Jenkins telling them, Jamel, don't say nothing, hold tight. So when he gets in here in the interrogation room, he's like, listen up, people, I don't need no lawyer. One, because it's $500 an hour. But secondly, y'all need to keep Jenkins away from the rest of us. Whoever y'all bringing us in on this indictment, keep him away, because he's telling us all to shh, be quiet. Now, of course, Jamel has to say all this because if he gets caught in a lie, it's over with. He's not going to be able to make any kind of deals. So Jamel looks like he might be the first one to actually fold. October 2015, 18 months earlier than when Jenkins, Momodu, and Jamel were all arrested. You hear them having a meeting about one of the officers that has been banned. Now, in the corner, you hear Jenkins talk about free him. So at this point, Jenkins is showing that he's all about the camaraderie within the Baltimore Police Department. If one of us go down, we need to stick up for him. Now, at the end of the meeting, you hear Boss say, go get that asshole over there. This is because Jenkins has been putting on this front, and low key, he's probably been getting in trouble. They just haven't done anything because he's been working his tail off, getting people off the streets. Miss Nicole Steele and Ahmed over at the Civil Rights Office. She comes into the office and one of the lawyers is playing some music. It's a rapper talking about Herschel. Now, you remember Herschel is the crookedest cop that we've seen on the show so far, whooping people's ass and not taking names. Now, this rapper is talking about him and exposing everything that he's done. So you hear Ahmed saying, what? So he's that bad that rappers are talking about him? That means we got to dig a little bit deeper into this Herschel character. And we already know that Miss Nicole, she's on the job. McDougal was chasing after Anderson Black. That's where the tracking device was under. They actually captured him in the motel. Now, there weren't any drugs or anything there. And they're asking, how come your apartment was already kicked in? He's saying, I don't know, man. It may have been city cops. I'm not sure. But there is a cop named G Money. So he's starting to expose what was going on with Jenkins and everybody, because all these names are getting thrown around. Now, this is good for McDougal because he can G Money. Momodu. Okay, that's where the tracking device came from. You see what I'm saying? Everything is starting to unravel. Now we get to hear what actually happened when Jamel and Momodu, they pulled up to Anderson Black's house. Now, G Money stayed in the car, and the reason for that is because he grew up, and you heard Anderson say, yeah, he knew a guy named G Money. They grew up, you know what I'm saying? So he didn't want to be recognized. Jamel goes in there, and the reason they knew that Anderson wasn't there is because they put the tracking device on there. His girlfriend was in there, and she gave up all the information. Normally people do when there's a gun put their head. So I told you guys, Jamel is probably going to be the one that's going to fold and crack the fastest. Nicole goes to a court case where this lawyer is the one representing the rapper that was talking about Herschel. And what she wants to do is be able to talk to him and get any information he actually have on Herschel. Now, we know that she's been pursuing this case. She went to the judge and she got information on Herschel. So now she wants to actually talk to people that have been victims of all of Herschel's terrorism. Now, this lawyer is saying, I can't guarantee you anything. Nicole is just saying, hey, either I can just question him or I can just sit in the back and just hear what he has to say. Sean Shooter, he's walking to his car with his partner. Now, G Money pulls up. Him and G Money, they originally started off working together. And of course, Shooter, we know he's about to retire, but he went over to homicide. Now, G Money, he got the name G Money because he gets money. We know it's illegal, but he gets it. Now, Sean, the way he's looking at him, he's telling that G Money's demeanor is a little bit off because Sean seems like he's a legit officer, and we know that G Money is crooked. McDougal and Kilpatrick, they've been working together to try to bring in Anderson Black. Now, the lady that was interrogating Anderson Black, she's trying to go up and bring up a bigger indictment on multiple cops because now they're starting to figure out, hey, McClure, he had another tracking device that was checked out and was on Anderson Black's car. We got a guy named G Money that Anderson Black knew. He's a cop. So now we're starting to see that there's more than one person involved in this. So what they're trying to do here is establish that they can bring up a larger indictment and bring in other people to make this stick. Sean arrives at a homicide scene. Now, he's looking at it. He's telling forensic, get a wide shot. He's investigating the body, looking over it, saying he got working man calluses. And now what he's trying to do is simulate where the potential shooter could have been at, who could have been around. So he looks like he knows exactly what he's doing here, and he's taking extensive notes. The dynamic duo, Kilpatrick and McDougal. Now they're watching a guy in their trailer. Got a nice little BMW, and he takes his suitcase out and he leaves. Now what they're doing is putting another tracking device up under this vehicle so we can see exactly what he's doing when he gets back and he leaves this parking garage. As of right now, it's not really looking good for Momodu, aka G Money. We know he's on the gun trace force, but there's all kinds of suspects saying he's a little bit friendly with some of the dope boys. So they're starting to pull this investigation on him, and they're going to dive a little bit deeper. Now, when these investigations start to open up, this is where you start to uncover everything that people were starting to hide. Now, it's bad for G Money because these suspects, when they get arrested, if they can give information on a dirty cop, 9 times out of 10, they're going to get that sentence significantly reduced, and sometimes they might even be set free. Of course, that duo, McDougal and Kilpatrick, guess what? The creators of this show, what did they write? The Wire. And guess what they get down? A wire. And hey, criminals got to be perfect all the time. Cops only got to get lucky once, and they can make the whole thing stick. Erica Jensen, she's really doing a lot of work. She's the one that was interviewing Jamel. So what she's doing is she's going to talk to some police instructors to try to get character statements or see if they can remember anything about Gondo back in the day. Now, this instructor is saying, yeah, I could see that he was kind of friends with this guy and I couldn't let that slide. You know, at first I did, but then I was looking at Gondo and it was a little bit off. So everyone's having the same type of answer for Gondo. We even seen Sean when he was talking to him, he was like, something ain't right with Gondo. But Gondo's in the streets. He's G Money. Sean's working this homicide. When he went over there, he took a couple of pictures and he seen that there was a fence that wasn't finished. Now, when he went and asked the deceased family member what was going on, she was just saying he was out there putting up a fence, and then we heard some machine guns. Now, this guy comes over and tells Sean that the commissioner and everyone, they're going to go out there. And Sean, he's trying to piece things together. He's saying whoever shot him must have had anger management issues because they shot him 5 times. So he's really trying to deep dive and try to figure out, piece this story together to see if they can come up with any kind of suspects for it. McDougal is over here. He's running through the wires. And guess whose name and number pops up? Momodu Gondo, aka G Money. This man G Money's name is in everybody's mouth. There's no escaping it for him. Things are not looking good for G Money at all. The tracker, it popped up. The guy's making a phone call to G Money. G Money is in Philly. And he's like, hey, man, I got everything is working good. Now, there is an auto repair shop that he's over at. But every time you look up, G Money, your name is coming up. McDougal, Kilpatrick, they own it. They hear everything now. Midway through the conversation, G Money tells them to FaceTime them because those can't be tracked. Now, the wire can only do phone call to phone call. When you FaceTime, that's a little bit more encrypted, and you'd have to get information and permission from Apple to actually be able to tap into that. Now, what did you hear Kilpatrick say? Hey, maybe he got messy. We only got to get lucky once. Nicole is really working her butt off. I'm talking about she's going to meet with suspects. She's going to meet with other cops. Now, this cop that she's meeting up with, he's breaking down what's actually going on in the police force. Basically talking about, hey, man, people aren't arresting as many people after the Freddie Gray situation. But before that, they were just arresting people. They were just trying to get as many people booked as possible. And that's not how police work should be done. He only wants to arrest the people that are actually committing crimes, not bringing people in for little bitty misdemeanors and all of that stuff. So Nicole was hearing this, and basically all this is playing in with civil rights being violated. Baltimore Police Department run sheet, patrol, admin duty patrol, CDS violation. Officer Jenkins is in the streets. Now, this is 2004, a year after he got on the police force. Jenkins and his training officer, they hop out, no questions asked, start frisking 3 gentlemen. Now, Jenkins finds weed on one of them, so they handcuff everybody. And what his training officer says is, hey, look. And he starts breaking it down, and we see this is where Jenkins starts to become a little bit crooked. Now, he's telling Jenkins that they're not going to approve overtime. So what we can do is take that weed, split it up, put it on each one of them and take them in, and then you'll get credit for the stats, meaning you'll get paid a little bit more. So do you want to make this extra money or no? So Jenkins is listening to it, and damn, if we arrest 3 of them, we'll get the stats for arresting 3. Since we don't get overtime, that'll put some more money in my pocket. Now we get a little bit of a backstory, and we see why Jenkins is going to turn to start doing illegal activities, because at his house, he's talking about, I done spent $40-something on all that. He needs that extra money at the house. And his wife is like, hey, just chill, Jenkins. It's all right, baby. It's all right. Now let's go back to the streets and see what Jenkins decides to do. Well, you already knew what was going to happen. Jenkins, they show him at another scene. He's picking up 8 to 10 people talking about, yep, let's bring them all in. And you hear his training officer talking about, I taught you well, Jenkins. Because now instead of arresting 1 person, you arrested 10 people. Yeah, that paperwork going to pile up. You're going to stay at work filling it out. Now, they can't authorize overtime, but they got to pay you overtime if you're actually doing work. You see how that works? Now, Nicole is taking a deep dive with Officer Willis, and he's basically telling her, even if you go and find witnesses and you try to put them on the stand, most people discredit the cops because there's so many of them that lie on the stand that even if you're telling the truth, they're not going to believe you. They're just going to bring up another case. You remember when Officer so-and-so lied on the stand? So for Nicole, she's trying to grasp that there are cops trying to do their job. It's such a bad look within the city that everybody's really getting discredited. You already seen that there's a list of cops that can't testify. Then Officer Willis starts to tell Nicole about when this young gentleman got arrested. All he was doing was walking home. He had a knife on him for his protection. It was a little bitty knife. And he was telling her, I don't know, Simons, he might talk. But, you know, a lot of people ain't trying to talk to nobody, especially living out here in these circumstances. Nicole goes over there and she talks to the gentleman, Simons, that got arrested. Now, his head is busted up. He said, man, luckily I wasn't on the schedule because I would have lost my job. But they beat on this kid, and we see this all the time. One thing he did want to know is, am I going to be all right with the girls? Nicole's like, yeah, you're going to be all right. It's just a little battle scar. This was easy to tell. Jamel, He was going to be the first one to fold. He's talking about it was me, G Money, and Allers. Even though he's a sergeant, he was stealing money also. Now, Erica, she's hearing this and she wasn't expecting him because he's a sergeant. He seems like he's good. You heard Jamel call him a choir boy. No, he was in on it. Usually those quiet ones, they be doing the most dirt. Jamel was telling everything. Now he's bringing up an instance where he stole $11,000 from a guy that they pulled over for a seatbelt violation. Then he starts telling everything. IED did an investigation. He passed the polygraph test. They tried to set him up. All he did was get suspended. They found coke in another guy's locker. But once he got out of his suspension, they put him in the office with the biggest, baddest, most corrupt cops. And what did Jamel say? He said, shoot, you think I'm about to play fair when I'm in there with them? You out your mind. This dude is telling everything. Now, Jamel's in there and he's telling everything. He's talking about how he got suspended, how other people had coke in there. And you remember at the beginning of the episode, when he was walking by Jenkins, he told them, keep Jenkins away from us. And Jenkins was yelling, hey, don't say anything. Well, Jamel disregarded all that information and went in there and told them everything. Baltimore Police Department, Mr. Jenkins, patrol, car accident, processing patrol. This is back in 2004. Remember, a year after he's been on the job, and he's been bringing in multiple people because they don't get overtime. Jenkins is out here working. Jenkins is on patrol, and when he pulls up to the scene, you see about 5 or 6 cops trying to arrest a man. Jenkins doesn't know what's going on, who's down there. He just runs over there and starts hitting the guy in the leg because he has on some J's. The guy's like, hey man, it's me, bro. I didn't get the department issued. So this just shows you how aggressive Jenkins is. He doesn't even see what's going on. He just jumps into anything. Now, Jenkins is finally finding out what's going on here. And they're just like, oh, he was loitering in a drug-free zone. Now he's like, nah, that ain't gonna be enough. Y'all roughed him up pretty good. Say he resisted arrest and then he swung on you. This way the paperwork, it'll look legit when you bring it in. So Jenkins, in under a year, has already just went overboard with how he's out here on patrol. Baltimore Police Department, Jenkins, run sheet, log of activities, field training. This is 2005 after we just seen him whooping on another fellow officer. We see that Jenkins is now field training. Now this is his new partner, Yang. And all this is showing us is that the cycle continues. The same thing that was told to him when he got on the force. Everything you learned in the academy, throw it out. Things are different. These are the Baltimore streets. Nicole still finally pulls up on Herschel. Now he's at the bar having a few drinks. Now she just asking him a couple of questions. And he keeps it real neat and short with her because he's not like all these other dirty cops out here. And he tells her, listen, yeah, I have a lot of complaints on me. If there's a police officer with no complaints, that means they aren't doing their job. And the reason none of the complaints were sustained, went any further in court for him to get in trouble, is because he said it's all coming from criminals who are just mad that the police pulled them over because they were doing something illegal. So basically what Herschel is doing right now is he's not talking. He's not giving Nicole any information about anything he's doing while he's out there being a dirty cop. There you go, part 2 of We Own This City. Let me know what you think about Jamel. Do you think he went in there and told too much information? And is this because he wanted to give up all the information before anyone else so he could cut a deal? Let me know what you think about that. I'm Moedotj. If you like the content on the channel, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you tune in tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday for We Own This City live after show discussion. Thanks for watching. I'm out.
Jimmy on the beat, boy.